So we are just a few weeks away from the return of Conor McGregor. And I believe that he has a lot more of a shot to win this fight against Max Holloway than I feel like a lot of people might think. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down why I believe that Conor has a real shot at beating Max Holloway once again. Now, there's no doubt that it really feels like the deck is stacked against Conor coming into this fight. I mean, whenever you suffer a catastrophic leg injury like he did, you've been away from the game for many years, you're not necessarily taking care of your body, you're partying, you're doing all of the extracurricular things that we have seen Conor McGregor doing, and his name has been in the headlines for a lot of different reasons. The reality is, I feel like Conor McGregor is locked in and ready to go for this fight against Max Holloway. He's done some interviews. He's done some media stuff, which we will talk about that in this video as well. But I feel like there are possibly some big advantages for Conor coming into this fight that are plus signs on the McGregor side that maybe people aren't necessarily thinking about or giving enough credit to the side of Conor coming into this fight, because there's no doubt about it that Max should be the one favored to win this fight. He's been in there against the elite opposition. He's been very, very active, the BMF champion, right? We know he was the featherweight champion. He has been fighting the best guys in the world on a consistent, active basis. And what we know about Max is, I mean, he's one of the best volume-based strikers of all time. He has crazy boxing skills. His kicks have gotten better. His movement, his durability, his stamina. Like, Max on paper in a way could potentially be a nightmare matchup for Conor McGregor. A guy that's been away for a while, that was never known for having a great gas tank. A guy that's coming off of a massive injury. Like, how's Conor going to look coming into this fight? He's going to look washed. Because if he is washed coming into this fight, he's going to get dusted up by Max Holloway, and it could potentially be bad. All those things are on the table, but I want to talk about why I believe Conor McGregor should not be overlooked coming into this fight, and why I really believe that Conor could potentially beat Max Holloway. So upon this fight being announced, this was a post that I made that is pinned on my X account. My reaction as soon as the fight was announced was this: Conor McGregor is 37 years of age. The last time we saw him, it was 2021, man, the time flies, where he suffered a catastrophic injury at UFC 264 in the Poirier trilogy. He has not won a fight since 2020. Being 1 foot in and 1 foot out of the fight game is normally a recipe for a disaster. That said, I have this feeling that Conor is going to starch Holloway and put him away inside 2 rounds. Max has been getting buzzed in all of his recent fights. Yes, he's been fighting the best guys in the world, but once that durability starts to crack, problems ensue. Way too many people counting out one of the most precise punchers of all time. Max is very hittable. The Mac returning and winning a fight in 2026 would be insane. We've seen many wild things happen this year in MMA. Now, the craziest thing is I posted this on May 17th. So think about what has happened since then. We just witnessed another massive upset where Justin Gaethje was able to beat the brakes off of Ilia Topuria and win the lightweight belt. So this was shortly after Sean Strickland went out there and pulled off the upset against Hamzat. Like, this has been, in my opinion, one of, if not the craziest year in the history of MMA by a long shot. Like, we have seen so many upsets, so many crazy things, and the year's like halfway over? So we still have all this time to go. And would it not be fitting for all of the crazy things that we have seen for it to basically be like, it makes all the sense in the world? Max has been active. He's a great guy. All of the things that Max does and how impressive he has been, especially since moving up to 155, where he's got more power behind his shots. The way that he was able to beat Poirier in their trilogy and all of these different things, right? The way he styled on Gaethje at UFC 300. Like, it feels like Max should win. But when it feels like a fighter should win this year, it just doesn't happen. The MMA this year has been crazy, man, to where a lot of things to me just don't feel like they have made a whole heck of a lot of sense. And I feel like when people say It's the fight game. Anything can happen. One punch, one kick, anything can happen. Styles make fights. That has never been, it's always been true, but it has never been more true than what we have seen this year in MMA. So obviously McGregor coming off of a massive injury, right? Is he going to move the same? How's he going to throw, the rear leg? All of those different things. And whenever you're coming off of an injury like Conor suffered, not only is it devastating, but we've seen fighters come back and they're not necessarily the same guy. Like there's a good chance that Conor comes back and is he even going to look as decent as he did in the Poirier fights, which to me still felt like a little bit of a shell of himself to a degree. But there's a lot of questions, man. When you're coming off of an injury like that and you've spent this many years away, right? Basically 5 years off, coming back against a guy that's at the top of his game, even though, yes, I've been saying I think that he's vulnerable and Max is hittable and he showed these signs where if you can crack him, you can sting him, you can hurt him. It obviously still, like you could say all the things about Conor. You could say that he's fragile. You could say that, well, he's not very durable. Like you could make all of these arguments as well in return for Conor McGregor, but we all know what Max brings to the table. He's been active, but I feel like a lot of people forget, man, Conor McGregor, he's an unbelievable striker. Right, and a lot of the things that we've seen recently, right, and shout out to the UFC for doing a face-to-face, which they would have done it in person, and it was too short of a face-to-face, right? They have it on the YouTube channel where Joe Rogan sat down with them and kind of vintage McGregor, right? He looks healthy. He looks ready to rock and roll, right? Was on Jimmy Fallon, was on Ariel Helwani recently to where Conor seems motivated. He's back. I'm back for the love of this. For fun, I'm back to shoot this man up. A little weasel. He didn't say all those things, right? I think that was in the build-up to the Khabib fight. But I think Conor's motivated, right? And he's back for the love of the game, for the fun, which is what he's saying, because he didn't need to do this. And to me, in a sense, you could say, well, that there's no pressure on him then, right? Because he already has the money, he has already all those things. But in a way, couldn't it be that it's kind of a dangerous guy that he's just coming back and gonna have fun in there? Where it's like, I don't need to do this, but I'm doing it for fun. So to me, Conor looks healthy and ready to rock and roll and seems very locked in for this fight. And he was talking a lot about, taking better care of his body, the way he's training. And it's something I've always criticized Conor for, right? People act like he's a pull-out merchant all of a sudden because of the Chandler fight, because of a pinky toe. And I was saying, which when I was listening to the Ariel interview, I was saying, I feel like there was a lot more going on behind the scenes between him and the UFC that led to him pulling out of that fight. In my opinion, I don't know for sure. My thoughts were it was a lot more than that damn pinky toe. I think that there were some things behind the scenes between him and the UFC that ultimately led to that to begin with. And by the way, Conor would have smoked Michael Chandler. I feel like, McGregor should have just went up and showed up for that fight because I think he would have destroyed Michael Chandler. But Conor McGregor looks ready to go, man. Looks absolutely ready to go, ready to rock and roll. Sounded great in these interviews. Seems like he's kind of back to that McGregor that we knew. And listen, man, he's coming into this fight to where I think that there are some advantages that are going to be kind of, I don't want to say necessarily on his side, because when you're away for all that time, and I always say this, we all know this, when you're 1 foot in and 1 foot out of the fight game, normally that's not rewarded in this sport. It just isn't, right? The guy that's been active, the guy that's been in there putting in the work, putting in the miles, has been checked in the whole time, they're normally going to run circles around you. But the reality is, when you've reached the peak of the sport like Conor did at one point, and you're a striking-based fighter, and you're heading into a matchup that I think is going to be a striker's delight kind of battle, does that not give Conor some sort of a chance? Like, you just don't forget how to fight. Like, a guy like Conor, like, you could say, oh, he's a celebrity, he's got all these businesses and all these different things. He's still a fighter. That's why he's coming back to do this. It's basically the addiction of, man, the being under the bright lights, the media, the attention, getting in there, the fix that he needs is the fight game, right? Bruce Buffer saying his name, the one, the only, the notorious, right? And he gets all amped up from that. That's what Conor, in a sense, almost just like lives for, man. He needs it. And I believe that that's one of the reasons he's back, right? And this is something that can keep him on track. And I think coming into this fight, it's at 170 pounds. And he said, listen, that's a tactic. Max Holloway's looked really good at 55. He was a 45er at one point, right? These guys fought years ago, back in 2013, to where Conor got the job done on the scorecards, right? Had to mix in some of the takedowns because he got injured. But the reality is, this is at 170. And you could say, well, Max doesn't have to drain himself. So doesn't that make him more durable? Couldn't that make his cardio even better? And all of that could be. But the reality is, Conor has fought at this weight a few times, right? The Nate Diaz fights, the Donald Cerrone fight. So Conor is very, very accustomed to fighting at 170. He's done it multiple times. I can't remember what the Poirier fights were at, but either way, you get my point. He's competed at 170 to where Max has not. Max hasn't competed against, anyone at 170 pounds. And I know that Max is a big guy, and it must have been a grueling cut getting down to 145, but I feel like that's something that could potentially be in the favor of McGregor. Now, not to say that, I feel like the UFC, to a degree, it was, you got to kind of appease Conor to get him back. Like telling him you're going to have to cut to 55 and really grind yourself to get down to that weight. If you say 170, Conor's like, that's a 15-pound difference. That sounds better to me. But also, I do think that what Conor's saying, there's a lot of truth to that. It's some sort of plus that could be on the side of Conor coming into this fight. Him dragging Max, who was a 45er at one point. Conor's gotten bigger. He's a lot stronger. And now he's going up to 100. And Holloway's going up to 170, where Conor's pulling him up there to where Conor has experience in this weight class. And it's what he was saying in the face-to-face. I know what the durability looks like in this weight class, the way the shots feel, all of those different things. Right, but the time off he's had, you could say it's negative, but that could also be positive, right? And I know maybe he's doing some extracurricular things, putting stuff in his body that's not particularly good for him, but the reality is he's not out there in the gym putting miles on his body per se. He's not in the octagon taking a bunch of damage, right? And I know you could say, well, the things that he's doing, whether it's, the snow, whether it's, drinking, whatever the case may be, that's not good for your body either. But I'm just saying, he's had some time away, can study the game from afar, maybe add some new tools into the toolbox. Or he's already fought Max before. He knows his game. He's been watching from afar. I'm sure he's been watching all Holloway's fights, and I don't believe that we're going to see any grappling in this fight. And I think if anybody looks to grappler, it would be Conor. Now, having said that, people are going to say, well, wait a minute, Conor out-grappled Max in the first fight back in 2013, so we could just do it again. Look what Charles just did to Max. Get that out of here, man. I don't think Conor McGregor's taking Max down. And even if he does, I don't think he's keeping him down. And I don't think he's going to have a ton of success doing it, because we've seen Conor throughout his career, one of his big weaknesses, the cardio. And if he grapples heavy against Max in a 25-minute fight early and he can't get him out of there, I just feel like that would absolutely wreck Conor's gas tank, even more. So I think that this is a stand-up fight, and I don't think Max is shooting any takedowns. Max, how many takedowns has Max ever shot? Right, so stylistically, it's a decent matchup for Conor in the sense that it's a striker and a guy that's predominantly a boxing-based fighter. Now, we have that open stance battle. I know Max switches stances a little bit. We saw Conor in the Poirier trilogy switching stances to try to kill that calf kick a little bit. Maybe Holloway does go southpaw to try to throw those calf kicks, because we saw Poirier landing them on Conor in the second fight and in the trilogy, and it was something that was bothering him. But Max is an orthodox style of fighter. Right, and a guy that's boxing-based, I'm sure he'll rip kicks to the body, bring some kicks upstairs, but it's not like Max is a devastating kicker. He's predominantly a boxer, and Max is hittable. Right, I know that his movement has looked really, really good. Maybe he could move a little bit slower at 170 to where Conor can track him down a little easier. Right, and Max's defense has never been that great. In the pocket, he kind of takes one and gives you, 3, 4, 5 punches. Right, he sits on the back foot. He's a lot more elusive nowadays. That keeps him out of range of being hit. But if you pressure him and you put him on that back foot, especially early, and make him uncomfortable, Oliveira was landing some shots, Poirier was landing some shots, to where you mean to tell me that Conor McGregor, an aggressive forward pressure-based fighter that has nasty counter boxing, I have no doubt in my mind that Conor's still going to be able to throw hands at a high level. I have no doubt about that whatsoever. My big worry for Conor in this is going to be the durability and the gas tank. That's my concerns coming into this for Conor, really. And obviously because he's been away for a while, so that all factors in. But Max is hittable. He's there to be hit. Right? And a lot of the time, if you march Max down and don't give him that room to operate, and he doesn't land a big shot on you, he looks to duck and just kind of wing these big power shots over the top, where he could definitely catch Conor and put him away. But also in the same time, while Max doesn't always move his head very well, I could easily see Conor sliding that vintage straight left hand down the middle and finding the chin of Holloway and hurting him. Now, does he put him away? I don't know, but definitely could hurt him. And Max is an orthodox style of fighter. I know he'll switch stances from time to time, but doesn't do a whole lot out of the southpaw stance, right? Maybe he breaks out something a little bit new, has something that Conor hasn't necessarily seen to kind of surprise Conor in there, which you think would be smart. But the reality is, when Conor fights orthodox style of fighters, that lead hand battle, he's a master of it. Trapping the lead hand, baiting out your rear hand to then slip off and counter, like what he was doing against Eddie Alvarez, Chad Mendez, all those guys throughout the years. He was even doing it against Holloway in their first fight. Right, because Conor took him down because I believe he blew out his knee or something in that fight. So he looked to grapple and try to neutralize Holloway that way. But on the feet, Conor was pinging him around on the feet as well. And obviously those guys, they were tadpoles in the game to where they've both gotten a lot better since then, especially Max. And you can make the argument that Max has gotten better and Conor hasn't, because Conor's been away. But I feel like that almost is a little bit of an advantage for Conor to a degree, because there's a stylistic mystery. What's Conor going to look like? Is he going to look stuck in the mud and washed? And it's like, oh man, like he just looks terrible. He looks slow. He can't even land on that. Like, and Conor said, I'm going to come out unscathed. You're not going to lay a glove on me, right? And Conor's coming back with confidence, right? I mean, he's always going to be confident, but you know what I mean? Like, is there that thing where Conor comes back and he just looks stuck in the mud and looks terrible and just gets dusted? Of course. But what if that doesn't happen? What if Conor comes back and he is lighter on the feet again? What if he comes back, and I think that people are making that such a big deal. Oh, karate stance Conor, boxing-based Conor. I don't really think that matters. We just need to see a Conor that is locked in, elusive, light on his feet, and sliding in and out of range to where he can land those counter shots. But I think he's going to walk forward on Holloway with little to no respect, put him on his heels, and look to sharpshoot him with his hands. Because we know that Conor's got a nasty left hand. We know he's got that nasty, uppercut with the lead hand and with the backhand. He's got a good kicking game as well. So I think that this matchup is a lot more interesting than what a lot of people might think. There's a lot of people out there saying that Conor's got no shot. This is a bad fight. They're sending Conor in there to get murked. Let me ask you something. Is it better for the UFC if Conor goes out there and beats Max, or if Max beats Conor? I feel like if Conor beats Max, that's way better for the UFC. Conor McGregor getting a win in 2026? It'd be absolutely crazy, man. Like, you can't tell me that Max beating Conor at this point really means a whole lot. Max is like, I'll beat you, and then we'll rematch and do it again. And I'm happy that Max is getting this fight, getting a big, I'm sure a big payday, the eyeballs, all that comes with it. Max deserves it, man. He's a savage. But at the end of the day, Conor McGregor winning, think of the fights that could potentially be there, right? Conor's like, I'll fight Islam Gaethje. It would be absolutely massive. So while it might be, well, McGregor looks washed, did this and that, how about we don't necessarily know what Conor is going to look like? I'm sure Holloway's training very hard, anticipating a great version of McGregor, but there's also that, what does his style look like? Has he added any new wrinkles into his game that I think will keep us a little bit in suspense? So instead of just saying Conor's got no shot, it's over, these are some things that I think could potentially kind of be some pluses for McGregor coming into this fight. And last but not least, I mean, Conor McGregor, I know when you're looking at some of these images, like the Nate Diaz fights, right? Fighting Poirier years ago, the first fight between the two, Chad Mendes, even Cerrone, like these fights are, it feels like forever ago, man, because in a sense they are. And to say that McGregor is going to move like he did back in his featherweight days and what he looked like against Eddie Alvarez and all those things, like, I don't know how realistic it is to say that he's going to move and operate like that, right? I just don't know. But at the end of the day, if we can see a guy that looks something like what we saw in those last two Poirier fights prior to this layoff, you mean to tell me that Conor doesn't have a shot to go in there and put something on the chin of Max Holloway and put him away? Some of the shots that Conor was landing on Dustin in the second fight, a couple of the shots he was landing in the third fight prior to Poirier starting to take over, and then McGregor breaking the leg, right? McGregor breaking the leg, you know what I mean? So Conor McGregor has landed some devastating shots on some of the best fighters in the world. And I'm telling you right now, man, I don't think that anybody should count out Conor coming into this fight. I think that Max Holloway, back to what I was saying before, I think that Max Holloway is vulnerable, man. He's hittable. We've seen Poirier drop them in the trilogy. We saw Justin Gaethje land some big shots on him. We saw Charles Oliveira land some big shots on him. And I'm telling you this right now. Oliveira grappled, and yeah, it was a rather boring BMF fight. But at the end of the day, I feel like Charles Oliveira, especially late, if he could have struck with Holloway, I think he could have knocked him out. Like, Max Holloway was not responding well to some of the big shots up at 155. While he's giving a lot more of a damaging shot, I feel like he's also very, very gettable. And once you get knocked out by Ilia Topuria like he did, right, and you come back up to 55, you start to, even though Max is still young age-wise, he's got a lot of miles on him in terms of the fight game, in terms of the fight years, right? Like, so at the end of the day, you mean to tell me that Conor, if he doesn't land a big shot on Holloway, he can't put him away? Come out here, throw some high kicks, front kicks, batter the midsection of Holloway, set up that left hand, stalk Holloway down, land some big shots, and put him away. So I don't have a necessarily official prediction for this fight just yet. But man, I'm telling you right now, I am not counting out Conor whatsoever. If there's ever a guy that could be away from the game for however long it's been, I think it's been 5 years since coming back off of this injury, all the cards, the deck is stacked against him. I could see Conor being one of those dudes that comes back and essentially does the unthinkable, man. Like, Conor's one of those dudes where if you say, this is impossible, you can't do this, he's going to go, shut up and watch what I can do, man. I'm actually really looking forward to this fight. This card is absolutely stacked. Anytime Conor is back in the fight game, whether you like him or not, he's the biggest star we've ever had. He brings more eyeballs, and I think that this is great for the fight game. I'm very excited for International Fight Week to see the return of Conor. He looks great in these interviews. He looks healthy. He looks ready to go. He looks confident. And, man, I think a happy and healthy McGregor, he sees a lot of the things that maybe we're mentioning out there in the MMA community, talking about some things that potentially McGregor could take advantage of. Because I'm telling you right now, if he comes back and still has gas left in the tank, I think he could definitely go out there and find a way to crack that chin of Max Holloway. But no question, what's he going to look like? Maybe he looks washed. Maybe he looks terrible. Max runs him over and just embarrasses him. Real possibility, right? I don't expect McGregor's gas tank to be that great, right? So if he doesn't finish Max early, could he potentially, fade and then Holloway puts him away at some point? Like, all options are on the table for this fight, in my opinion. I don't think that McGregor comes in with a grapple-heavy game plan. He's good in the clinch with those shoulder strikes. I think Conor is going to put a lot of pressure on Max and be willing to risk it for the biscuit in this fight to get the job done. But if you guys enjoyed this video, do me a favor. Please give it a like. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Do you guys think that Conor has a shot in this fight? Who are your early predictions? What's your early prediction to get who you think is going to get this one done? And if you're new, if you could subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. I will see you next time.